everyone, welcome to Hedgehog Hollow and welcome to Sunday Stamping with Elizabeth Craft Designs. If you haven't been here before, we're excited to have you, and today I'm going to be using the Floral Background clear stamp. I'm also linking up in the top right where I used this last month with a completely different idea. So this month I decided to kind of go on something that's come back into fashion. So years and years ago I used to do Pergamano, which is parchment craft, and I've noticed it's kind of started to make a comeback. So when I saw this stamp, it kind of gave me an idea of being able to use my stamps for parchment craft. So onto vellum, I've already stamped this and I've cut this panel down. So I've just kind of chosen this section here. So this is card front matted size. So I've cut it down to 5 inches across and it's 3 3/4 inches wide. And I also have my Elizabeth Craft, this is the Susan's Garden toolkit that we're going to be using. I heat emboss using some Nuvo Clear Mark. Be really heavy on your anti-static powder on vellum, and then I use the fine detail Glacier white embossing powder as well. So we have our little foam piece that comes in. You could also, if you wanted a larger piece, you could use the back of a mouse pad if you still have one. I had to laugh when I mentioned mouse pads the other day and my 10-year-old asked me what a mouse pad was. I think there's also a TV commercial about that recently. So I'm going to turn this over. So this is the reverse side, so my embossing is going to be down on my mat, and I'm going to grab the ball tools that come in these into the set. And so the first thing I'm going to do is, with the finest ball tool, is I'm going to outline my stamp all over. So what I'm going to do is just middle pressure, not too heavy because otherwise you will just put a hole through the vellum. Is I'm going to go around and I'm just going to outline. So now I've outlined all the pieces, and the great thing is you can really feel where you have and haven't done it. I did get a few places where I put a little bit too much pressure down and it does start to split the paper, but you will not notice it. Just leave that area, and then the thinner the ball tool, the more likely you are to pierce through it. I'm now going to use the two larger ones and I'm going to add details in. So when you start actually really kind of working the vellum, this is the largest one here, you are naturally going to get those white areas. And if you ever did parchment craft before, we used to take a nib and we would actually go and we would have outlined all of this and traced through a template. So being able to do this just with a stamp and have this beautiful effect is perfect. And of course you could do this with any stamp, but I just think this one particularly lends itself because it's got some nice open areas where we can use our ball tools. So as I'm using this ball tool, it's changing from a traditional kind of frosted effect and it's adding these white places in where I'm breaking that. So you can see there, I've now started to get that white in the center of the flower. You can then be a little bit more targeted, and of course you can just create these lines in here and add the shading. So imagine you're kind of shading in black and white, and you can add that texture in like that. So you can add veins and things in. In the middle of these flowers, we can take our ball tool and we can add centers to them. The harder you press, the more white it's going to get. Again, just be careful. You don't really want to go through that paper, but you can see that I've added centers to my flowers. I can then take my larger ball tool and kind of emphasize those flowers as well. So just work all over your piece. I'm going to speed it up, but there is also a half speed option on YouTube in your this little cog down here for settings. and you can select that. So I'm just going to work through this, adding some extra texture and things. And as I say, if you want to slow it down, you can, or have a go as I'm doing it along at home as well. So once you've gone all over and you have all of these wonderful textures and things in here, you can think about adding colour. Now when we add colour with parchment craft, traditionally we would put it on the back of the piece, which is what I'm going to do. Now rather than adding colour into the flowers, I'm going to add colour around the flowers and just let the flowers pop as they are. And to add my colour, I'm going to be using some liquid watercolours. So I pop them all into an ice cube tray with a silicone lid. It means that they can dry a little bit and I don't have any issues, and then I can just reactivate them with an aqua brush as well. So let me just grab one of those. I keep them all in my drawer here. This one is a thicker nib. Let's see if I have a nice fine nib here. That's perfect. So this one's great because it has a little water barrel. I'm going to squeeze a bit out onto my hand and also grab a piece of kitchen towel. So let's start reactivating. Now I'm going to think about what colours I'm going to put on here. And I think I'm going to work with a blue. So let's go with this blue. So I'm just adding a little bit of water to it. Reactivates that liquid watercolour. You can see there I've got a beautiful blue colour. And I'm now going to start working on the back very lightly, and I'm going to start adding the colour between the flowers. So I'm just really adding a background to them, like this. Not so worried about the dots, I just want to avoid the flowers. So I tend to work section by section. I'm a lefty, so I keep rotating my paper. I find that's the easiest way to work. Don't have your paint too wet. You'll find it dries really quickly. If it's too wet, it's not going to dry quickly, and it's also going to kind of probably run into your flowers as well. So I like to work with a little bit on my brush. I'd rather refresh my brush more often and make sure I have that control over my paint. So there we have finished our blue. So now you can see how it's going to look when we pop it on some white cardstock. I mean, it's absolutely beautiful, really subtle. It'd be a great sympathy card as well. So lots of different occasions you could make it for. Good luck, thinking of you, get well soon. Really a beautiful, delicate, feminine card. Now you can then choose what you want to do. I'm going to add just a few hints of colours. So I'm going to grab some of my green and my pinks and pop those behind. I don't think I'll pop them everywhere, but I think just some hues here and there. ready for our card assembly, and I have a Nina card base here, and I'm going to use some funky tape to mat on a layer that is 5 1/4 by 4 inches, and I always mat with my card open. Just gives you a better, smoother, more even mat because your card is not bouncing. Then I'm going to mat this white piece that's the same size as my vellum, so that is 3 3/4 by 5 inches. And now we're ready to add on our vellum, and I think it's going to look absolutely beautiful. You can just see there how gorgeous that looks. So I'm going to use some of the W+ adhesive. It really is my favourite on vellum, and I'm going to try to add it in places that are still not quite so noticeable. So anywhere I put some heavy detailing. This is great, you really don't see it through the vellum. I'm always still dubious with any adhesive on vellum because that is what it's designed for. So you can see there that gorgeous card that we've created. Now, sentiment wise, you could either die cut a sentiment, you could stamp something on there. I just love it how it is. I'm just gonna have a quick look through my sentiment box. In my box, I have this lovely sentiment set. It's called Sentiments 1 Celebration, and the coordinating dies from Elizabeth Craft. And I think that's going to work perfectly just to offset on this card. So I'm going to do it as, let's have a look what we'll go with. I think we'll do a Miss You. And so I'm just going to grab an acrylic block, my drawer here. Always, if you just drop your photopolymer stamps down, they will naturally go back to their straightest point. So that's a really easy way to do it. No guesswork involved. So I'm going to just stamp out my Miss You. And I'm going to use the Miss You die, which is here. Like so. I'm just going to use a little bit of, I have some post-it tape here anyway from a project I was just doing, like this, and I'm going to pop this through my Gemini. My plates are here. So here's our little sentiment that we cut out, and we're going to stick it on. I'm going to use just a little bit more vellum adhesive under these flowers, like so, and now we can pop our sentiment on. I think I'm going to use a little bit of foam to pop up my sentiment, and I already have some foam strips here. I'm just going to cut them down just a smidgen more so I can get some really lovely thin pieces. These are a non-stick scissor, so I'm just going to cut myself some pieces. I find that's the easiest way, like this. So, a piece on here. Oops. So I'm going to peel this off. I'm just going to pop this in this bottom corner. I think that will work perfectly. You can see there what a beautiful card we've ended up with, all those wonderful details and just some hints in there that really make it sing. So I hope you've enjoyed today's Sunday Stamping with Elizabeth Craft Design. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and also click that bell so you get notifications of whenever we have a new tutorial for you as well. Plus, of course, do give us a thin thumbs up if you've enjoyed this technique and the card. And don't forget to join us again very soon for another Sunday Stamping at Elizabeth Craft Designs. Happy stamping, everyone. Bye.